I'm going to call on Commissioner Marshall to lead us in the invocation and the pledge.
Dear Lord, I'd like to thank you for this day, the day you blessed us with, one that we've never seen. We'd like to thank you for those who came out to participate in their local government. I pray for those who wanted to be here that couldn't be here. We pray that you continue to shine on our cities and our county. And dear Lord, we'd like to say a special prayer for those affected by the shootings that have recently taken place in the major cities, as well as those who are engaged in battle abroad in Ukraine. We pray that you bless and protect our military service members as they strive to keep the peace. And dear Lord, I ask that you continue to give wisdom to our staff as they continue to give us guidance as we make the best decisions that we can for our county. All these blessings we ask in your Son, Jesus' name, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Marshall. We have the honor today, we've got some young folks here from the Lowndes Youth Leadership League. If you would, please stand and be recognized. And we'll be looking for a speech from each and one of you. Thank y'all. I hope you're having a great time doing this. It's very educational, I'm sure, and so again, I hope you have a great experience with it. Also, I believe we may have some Leadership Lowndes folks in the room as well. Would you please stand and be recognized as well? Joe? All right, Commissioners, our first agenda item is very, very important. It's actually a proclamation to recognize the National Public Safety Telecommunicators in our community, as we know them as our 911 dispatchers. We're very proud of this group of individuals, the extreme hard work that they do, and folks just do not understand the pressure that these folks are under when they're on the other end of someone that has a serious issue that's going on in their life, whether it be an accident, whether it be a medical condition or what have you. They have to work through that, work with the caller, as well as get the dispatch to the proper authorities that needs to respond to that need. So again, we're very, very proud of you. We thank each and every one of you for the great job that you do. So with that, Commissioners, if y'all don't mind, if you can meet me down front with this fine group, we'll get us a photo and I'll present the proclamation. If you will, I'll present the proclamation. The proclamation states National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, April the 10th through the 16th. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of the appropriate emergency personnel is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property, and whereas the safety of our emergency responders is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone Lowndes County 911, and whereas the safety of our first responders is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone Lowndes County 911, and whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services, and whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our emergency responders by monitoring their activities via radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of Lowndes County 911 have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas in 2021, Lowndes County 911 handled 104,382 incoming emergency calls and 93,009 non-emergency calls, and they handled 122,007 dispatch calls and 70,996 unit-generated calls. And whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Now therefore, our chairman, Bill Slaughter, on behalf of the Lowndes County Board of Commissioners, do hereby recognize the week of April the 10th through the 16th as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Lowndes County, in honor of the men and women who diligently and professionalism keeps our citizens and cities safe. So proclaimed this 12th day of April, 2022. Congratulations. Thank y'all. Thank you very much. Commissioners, inside your packet, you'll find your minutes of the work session of March the 21st, as well as your regular session minutes of March the 22nd. If there are no additions, deletions, or corrections that need to be made, I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve.
We have a motion to approve the minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. We now move into our public hearing items, and 6A is our first case. This is REZ 2022-06. It's Kinderloo Forest. It is currently a PD. The request is for R10, PD, and CH, and it has county utilities. Mr. Dillard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners. Again, this request represents approximately a change of 780 acres from its current planned development zoning to R10 zoning on approximately 690 acres and commercial highway zoning on approximately 90 more to the southeast. The existing phases of Kinderloo will remain as a planned development based on their 2002 and 2008 approved site plans. Per comprehensive plan, future land use, this property is within the suburban and community activity center character areas and as well within the urban service area. There are wetlands on the property, as noted here. And the request here was from the 2008 site plan that was previously approved. The hatched areas is what is being considered tonight for consideration of R10 and commercial highway zoning. Again, this is the detailed portion of the commercial highway zoning along Highway 84 West. Overall, staff found this request consistent with the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan, and the Planning Commission heard the request at their March meeting and recommends approval to rezone by a recommendation of 10-0.
Any questions for Mr. Dillard? Okay, hearing none, we'll move into the public hearing portion of the meeting. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of this request? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Jeff Lovell, 3998 Inner Perimeter Road, Valdosta. I'm the engineer for this project. I'm representing the developer. I think JD did a great job of framing up our request. We're just looking for some flexibility as we move forward with the development. You know, they're halfway there. The developer's got a lot of momentum. A lot of things have changed in 14 years. I mentioned to the Planning Commission that the Corps of Engineers has changed the definition of a jurisdictional wetland 3 times since this was approved. And so flexibility is needed, and you know, they've got a lot invested in that project, and you know, there's no hidden agendas here.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Lowell? Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this request? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing portion of the meeting, and I'll turn it over to the commissioners for your consideration.
Mr. Chairman, I motion to approve this request.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the request. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 6B is REZ 2022-07. This is Hayden Park. It's located at Camelot Crossing and Valdale Road. It involves 149 acres. The request is from R1 to CG, PD, and R10. Mr. Dillard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The request is from R1, approximately 149 acres, to commercial general, approximately 63 acres, land development, for multifamily, on 28 acres, and R10, approximately 55 acres. Again, the general motivation is for the applicant to create a mixture of residential and commercial sites for development in various stages. The property is within the urban service area, community activity center character area for comprehensive plan, and is located along Valdell and Camelot Crossing. Property is within the immediate groundwater recharging area, contains water wetlands, which almost acts as natural provider based on the proposed zoning from the applicant. For comprehensive plan guidance, proposed zonings are recommended as part of the development strategy. Here you'll see an overall proposal of the site plan.
You'll note the green section to the north being the R10. The yellowish colors on the far east and southwest corners being the commercial general section. And then the darker green in the lower right-hand corner being the planned development multifamily. This is a detailed up view, close view of the proposed multifamily. You'll notice 7 buildings here. Provides parking, amenities, including pool and open green space. You'll note 2 points of ingress and egress are located here. And again, here are a few of the renderings provided by the applicant. These are 4-story apartment. And an overview of the pool. And again, there is a little web view. If you'll bear with us just a moment. Developer is also building similar in Thomasville to our west, and I believe 2 other locations within the state below Atlanta. Staff found the request overall consistent with the comprehensive plan and the existing land use patterns of the area, and the Planning Commission heard this at their March meeting and recommended denial 8-2, with most of their discussion focused on traffic concerns over Valdell and North Valdosta intersection.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dillard. Any questions for Mr. Dillard? Okay, hearing none, then we'll move into the public hearing portion of the meeting. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. I'm Chris Bisher. I'm a lifelong resident of Lowndes County, and for the past 15 years, I've lived at 3532 River Chase Drive. I come to you tonight on behalf of the residents of River Chase subdivision that includes the streets of Chardon Way, Huntsburg, River Chase Drive, and Northridge. We are not anti-development. We are for smart development. I speak on behalf of the concerns of our neighbors regarding the request for zoning before you on the apartment complex development between our neighborhood just off Valdell and Cross Point Church. Just 2 weeks ago, the Planning Commission voted 8-2 to deny the request for the rezoned property. When this vote occurred, the residents of our neighborhood assumed that the project was dead and that our concerns were lifted. We concur with the County Planning Commission on denying the developer's request. The River Chase subdivision is located directly adjacent to the proposed development across Valdell Road. Our neighborhood is a relatively low-density residential area with larger homes on 1 or more acres of land. We value our lifestyle of rural Lowndes County and Georgia. Unfortunately, it appears that the many concerns we have about this development are back before us tonight. It wasn't until a few days ago, this past Saturday exactly, as we met with Mr. Slaughter, Mr. Ornstein and Mr. Griner, that we realize the pending vote before you and the urgency of us gathering appropriate information for your consideration prior to your vote taking place. As this has become extremely short notice for our neighborhood to get answers from several agencies concerning this development in our area, we ask the commission to table the vote on this project until the next scheduled commission meeting on April 26th. Mr. Chairman, can you and the Board of Commissioners grant us, the homeowners of River Chase subdivision, our requested 2-week delay in this vote as we gather additional information?
Okay.
I'm prepared to answer additional areas of concern, but that's.
Any questions for Mr. Bishop?
Questions that you speak of from other agencies. Can you enlighten us on what those questions are?
Well, one, and of course I see the clock cooking down there. One is the additional area of R10 that is not plotted out currently. Also, it has to do with ingress egress of that additional R10. Does it come on to Valdale? We understand that there are commercial properties there alongside Valdale, and that's completely different than the residential. High-density residential, where you got 300 doors in this apartment complex, 1 to 3 bedroom units. We're talking about 600 potential additional vehicles, 24/7, 365 days a year. Fortunately, thank you, Mr. Ornstein, for having the developer agree to reroute this existing development to go out Camelot Crossing, but we're concerned about the future R10. So that's one thing. The next thing is the funneling of traffic that is occurring on Valdale. I know that you have showed us the plans for 5-laning there as we get to the intersection, but there's already planned developments that have been approved up Valdale Road, north of Valdale Road, that they have not even begun construction on. What happens with that? Yes, there's 5 lanes, so now we've taken 5-lane traffic, we've put it onto a 2-lane North Valdosta Road. I was very fortunate this morning. I left my house at 7:55 expecting major delays. I was ecstatic that I made it on the North Valdosta Road at 7:57. However, when I got to Music Funeral Home, from Music Funeral Home to Country Club, it took me 12 minutes. We're creating a funnel, and all we're doing is widening the funnel, the mouth of the funnel, but yet the neck of the funnel is the same size. So there's additional concerns we have with DOT. The high-density development, we're concerned about property values, frankly. We would like to see, I did stop by Thomasville on Sunday afternoon to look at the current development. It appears that he's multiple weeks or months behind schedule. The siding is still going up on the buildings. It said pre-leasing in fall of last year. Clearly, they're behind schedule. Our additional concerns are, if this development is not able to conclude as planned, meaning a luxury apartment building, and now it's already been approved as regular apartments, is that the next developer that comes in and picks it up, he does not have to meet the same guidelines or what we're expecting to be developed here. So those are real concerns we have. We're concerned about our property values. We're concerned about traffic. We're concerned about noise. We're concerned about additional foot traffic. We would just like some concessions, some consideration, but we want to get some more additional information so we can have an intelligent conversation with you. And I don't think it's too much, us as the homeowners, to buy 2 weeks of additional time to gather some additional information to present to you so that you have sound information prior to your vote.
Any other questions?
I just need one statement. On the PD aspect of this, Chris, or Mr. Bishop, on the PD aspect of this, they would have to come before us and get it changed to do anything different. Because the PD is what it is, and they would have to change it.
So you're telling me that if the developer runs out of money, that the next developer that comes in, it will have to be the exact same level of quality?
On the PD, it does.
Okay, so we have one of our many concerns. Thank you, Mr. Griner.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Bishop.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go now to, is there anyone in the audience that's in favor of this request? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Excuse me, my name is Charlie Hand, I'm the developer. I'm at 1908 Lake Arthur Drive in Cairo, Georgia. So, I lived in Valdosta for about 12 years. I know the area pretty well. Went to school here and stayed here after school for a long time. And so, we want to be good neighbors. I certainly don't want to upset anybody. We try to do a a really nice project. You know, I didn't understand the traffic problems on Valdale Road when we initially presented a week or two ago. And so after it came to light about the traffic pattern problems, we rerouted the traffic, so the apartments, there's no way they can exit Valdale Road. So it'll take, 15 months to put in all the infrastructure and build out the 280 apartments, but there's not a road that goes out to Valdale Road. They cannot, I changed that as soon as I realized there was a concern. So we redid the site plan, and so there's that road, the apartments basically just cannot in no way, shape, form, or fashion exit Valdale Road. It will take 12 to 15 months to build it out, and we would, do the residential on Valdale Road, start looking at doing it later, after that is completely finished. So it would be years before a home is built in there and anybody's living there. And they're certainly not all gonna be all at one time. The project we're gonna do is gonna be a very high-end project. It has a resort-style pool, a walking track, playgrounds, huge dog parks. We're gonna try to make it the nicest apartment complex in Valdosta. And it's in the county, which, a lot of people wanna live in the county because they like the county schools, they prefer the northern side of town, all of that kind of thing. So we feel like it's a good area, and the area needs a good multifamily property where they, if someone just starting off, they can't afford to buy a home yet, it's a nice alternative. It's gonna be a really nice, we haven't set the rents exactly yet, but it's gonna be smart locks, smart thermostats, it's gonna be gated, well lit, it's gonna have a brick and stucco veneer. It's gonna be a very nice project. And so, I think that was it, unless I'd like to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Hand?
I do. The commercial component, Aaron, can you put that first map back up? The commercial component that's being proposed with the apartments. Are you planning to do that simultaneously with the apartments?
We would like to when we put continue the Camelot Crossing up to the road where you turn right into the PD development, we would like to go ahead and put the infrastructure in, the roads, curb and gutter lighting, all the, extend the water and sewer, put a storm system in, do all of the infrastructure, but we don't really, it's gonna be kind of it's not all gonna happen at one time. The PD development alone is gonna be a huge project, just 40 million plus that we're spending in there. And we're certainly not gonna do it in any kind of haphazard or reckless way that puts the neighborhood at risk for anything. Like I said, we wanna be good neighbors, and we would do anything, and if I knew any other concerns, as soon as I found out about the traffic concern, we were more than willing to change the road where it doesn't extend to Valdale. And if there's anything else that they come up with, we would entertain fixing or trying to address that. But I mean, you're never gonna see this project from Valdale Road. There's a half a mile of woods, looks like, or something, I'm not sure exactly. But there's a big stretch of woods that separate this PD development from Valdale Road. There's a mobile home park over there in between us that's in pretty rough shape, but there's a lot of woods separating us between Valdale.
Okay. Mr. Hand, I have a question, and of course, the opposition asked for this project to be tabled for 2 weeks till our next meeting.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to get your input and your thoughts on that request, since it is your application.
Yes, sir. I personally think they've addressed their concerns, and they've stated their concerns, and we've tried to address them. I don't know if they could tell you something in the next I don't know what's gonna happen in 2 weeks. we just feel like it was, there's some people that just not gonna be for anything, you know, and we're trying to be good neighbors and do the right thing and make everybody happy, but I don't see anything changing in the next 2 weeks. I mean, I don't know what, they would be waiting on.
So the concept of your project, as far as you seeing any changes in the R10 area or in the small commercial side that fronts Valdale Road, you really don't see any change in what you plan to do there?
You mean far as changing the zoning there?
Right,
Or
either
changing
changing the
our
zoning, or, you know, it was mentioned that, of course, there's no site plan that's been developed for that, but it's
Well-
pretty simple for R10. I mean, you've got to have a road in and a road out.
Yes, sir. Well, the reason it's not designed yet is they're in there right now flagging the wetlands. So they have to locate the wetlands, or flag the wetlands, and then locate them on the survey before we can design a road through.
Okay.
So that's the only reason they're not gonna have anything in there. But it's not gonna be shoddy homes. It's gonna be really nice cottage-style homes with all the amenities that are required nowadays. I think it's something, 6% of the lots have to be, for amenities, you know, so we'll meet all those requirements and more. But, you know, we would be happy to, you know, do whatever makes everybody happy, but I mean, the frontage, I've heard between the last meeting and this one, I've heard 4 or 5 people say that they understood that commercial was gonna be on Valdale Road. And so, there's really probably not 3 lots there on the commercial side, you know? And I don't think anybody on the opposition has anything against those being in there.
Any other questions for Mr. Hand?
I was just curious. It seemed, the way you're describing it, it seems to be more of a Camelot Drive at North Valdosta Road versus Camelot at Valdale.
Yes, sir.
And I just noticed that's what was on the request and all.
But initially we had, again, I didn't know the traffic problems on Valdale. And so we had designed that road to come up through and exit out Valdale. But after realizing the traffic problems on Valdale, we just changed it to where we have that little roundabout there at the bottom of the commercial tract. And it serves as a dual purpose. It gives us a second point of egress for the PD development. But everything, they'll come back out Camelot, they can come straight back out to North Valdosta Road, or they could turn right and go out to 41, you know.
That's all I had.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Hand.
Thank you.
I have a comment, Mr. Chairman, for what it's worth. I believe Commissioner Weisenbaker, someone asked yesterday about the plans for the YMCA.
Let's hold on. If we can, just a minute, let's just close the public
Oh,
hearing
I'm
portion
sorry,
of the
that's
meeting, then we'll move into that area.
Sure.
Okay, at this time, we'll close the public hearing portion of the meeting, and now, Mr. Ornstein, I'll turn it back over to you for your
Just for whatever
your
it's worth.
thoughts.
I had some concerns about that too, what the YMCA's plans were. You know, they've owned that property for a while now. But I spoke to Larry Toby this morning, and I simply asked him, do y'all have any intentions on selling this property to a developer, to whomever, at any point? You know, is that in y'all's plans or the board's plans? And he said absolutely not, that their plans are to proceed with hopefully an aquatics facility there at some point. So I don't know if that means anything to this board, but I wanted to share with y'all that the YMCA still has plans to have a facility there, hopefully in the next, few years.
Okay.
Mr. Dillard,
Any other comments?
Mr. Dillard, does the one entrance on Camelot Crossing suffice for fire and police?
That was something that was noted by Chief Green and the Technical Review Committee, and they would be willing to work with the applicant on any other secondary point of ingress and egress. We recognize that while it is two-laned going in, it could present a potential choke point, and final plans would be reviewed by fire with those comments.
Well, the only way out, the only other way out is on Valdale.
Correct, sir. And that was a consideration for any sort of certificate of occupancy being issued before the apartments complex or the PD portion would be approved, would be noted that a secondary point firmly established.
Well, based on that information, I think we should table it for 2 weeks. Mr. Chairman, I move that we table this for 2 weeks to let us get the secondary exit put in the right place to make sure that,
Excuse me a minute. There's a secondary
Oh.
exit out Kings Way.
Mr. Weisenbaker.
Is that
Mr.
correct?
Weisenbaker, just a minute, please, out of order, let's let Mr. Griner finish his statement, and then we'll hear from you.
I move we table it for 2 weeks so we all know where the secondary exit's gonna be before we vote on this.
Okay? We have a motion then to table. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second to table. All right, any discussion? Mr. Weisenbaker?
From what I hear Mr. Hand saying, there's another entrance, egress, and ingress and egress Kingsway to 41 North. Is that correct, Mr. Hand?
Yes, sir, there's another point of egress, it's, I forget the name of the street, but it's on the corner on that. If you look at it, imagine there's two rectangles sitting on top of each other on the northwest section of the lower rectangle, that it exits a public street right there. We can be more than happy to put another, to alter that area and put another point of egress right there. We
Okay.
have access that comes up to that street, there's a street there on that map, I believe. And it comes right up there to that, you can make that a stipulation, we'll exit right there on that, we'll have another point of egress on the street there.
Does that clarify your question, or you still want your motion to stand?
I still want my motion to stand.
Okay. We have a motion, we'll second, we'll call the vote. If there's no other discussion, all in favor of tabling, please raise your hand. Okay, we have 4. Any opposed? 1. Motion is to table until our next meeting.
Yes, for 2 weeks. Or
2 weeks.
whenever the next meeting is.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, we'll move on now to agenda item 6C. This is REZ 2022-08, Hollowbrook, 3263 Old Clyteville Road. It has 15.6 acres. It is currently RA, and the request is for PD, and it will be served by Welland Septic. Mr. Dillard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this was requested for approximately 15.6 acres of a larger 58-acre tract outlined here. You'll note the interior tract is approximately 5 acres, and there are an additional acreage going around this property, which is requested to be PD. Generation, the motivation for this case is for an event facility. Now, the property is within the urban service area and suburban character area, as shown on the future land use map. There are some wetlands on the property as far as a recharge area and a local pond. The TRC considered this request and is supportive of the following staff recommended conditions. 1, the property may be used only for uses permitted in the residential agricultural zoning district and an event facility where the operation of an event facility is limited to meetings, retreats, celebrations, and weddings for groups no larger than the fire code allows for the proposed buildings and area. Outdoor performances by bands and ensembles that are accessory to a meeting, retreat, celebration, or wedding shall be allowed. The event facility shall adhere to the Lowndes County Noise Ordinance. 2, unless otherwise noted on an approved site plan, the use of the property shall be subject to all standards applicable to properties in the RA zoning district. And 3, exterior lighting shall be shielded to avoid direct illumination of the adjacent properties. The Planning Commission considered this request at their meeting and recommends approval with the conditions as defined above, 10-0. You'll note here on this particular plan, the 15.619 acres being requested. And here, unfortunately, is a rendering that did not scan well, but this is a proposed final build-out of the venue.
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Dillard? Okay, we'll move into the public hearing portion of the meeting. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this request? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission. I'm Bill Langdale, 2519 Jerry Jones Drive here in Valdosta, Georgia. I'm the attorney for this project, and I want you to note I'm not getting paid very well. And we acquired this property, and I'll be brief since you don't have opposition, but 10 years ago, it's really 180 acres. It's pecan plantation. Y'all are familiar with that. They can be noisy at times. The house was there, was lived in by Barbara Barker. We used it for the very same functions for years. And now my wife has decided to make some improvements. It went in a direction that was a surprise to me. We've decided we better get it rezoned. And so we're here before you today to get it zoned to be used for the same purpose we've been using it for, and have had no objections or complaints to my knowledge. And it's actually a perfect place for it. It's a beautiful setting, wonderful buffer. The trees, at least during the summer, it's a wonderful buffer. But anyway, it's a wonderful place. Good ingress, egress, right down from Wild Adventures. And I'll answer any questions if you have any, but I think most of you have probably looked at it.
Any questions for Mr. Langdale?
I don't.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Langdale.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no one else that would like to speak in favor of this request, then I will close the public hearing portion of the meeting, and Commissioners, I'll turn it back over to you for your consideration.
Motion to approve this request.
We have a motion to approve the request. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have several. We'll call Mr. Marshall's request as the second, or his second. All right, is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. All right, we'll move on now to agenda item 7A, and this is the electric vehicle charging stations. Ms. Dukes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As discussed during the work session, we are before you this evening with an exciting historic proposal for the first electric vehicle charging stations in downtown Valdosta. They are slated to be located in the southern end of our parking lot. It will take up 2 parking spaces and provide 3 opportunities for charging. Not only is this in line with the plans that we are hearing from the Metropolitan Planning Organization regarding this availability, but it also can have a tremendous economic development impact in bringing people off the interstate, other parts of the community, those coming through visiting on Highway 84 to our downtown, and it is in plan with our vision to create that destination. I do want to point out Mr. Joe Brownlee, who is here tonight. This would not be possible without him bringing this to the table, making us aware of the program with Georgia Power. His team worked with the county attorney through the process to develop the documents. One thing that you may not know is that this is a new service. So Georgia law is very specific on the services that we can provide as a local government. There was a tremendous amount of research to make this happen, because it's not something that the state's caught up with yet, even though their plans are pushing this out to local communities. So we feel like this is something else that puts us on the cutting edge, especially for South Georgia. We appreciate your consideration.
Yep.
Thank you, Joe.
All right. Any questions for Ms. Dukes? Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Our next agenda item is the acceptance of the FY 2022 VAWA Continuation Grant Award. Commissioners, you heard from Ms. Hayes at the work session. If there are no questions, which Ms. Dukes will have to answer, then I will entertain a motion.
Chairman, I move we accept the FY 2022 VAWA Continuation Grant and authorize you to sign the documents.
Okay, we have a motion to accept and authorize the chairman to sign. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 7C is the Lowndes County Jail's Medical Edition, the agreement between the owner and the architect. Mr. McLeod.
Yes, sir. Thank you. This is the owner and architect agreement with Studio 8 Design LLC to design a 60-bed expansion for medical and isolation.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. McLeod?
Just one,
Go ahead. Are you?
I saw where it said it estimates the project to possibly cost $4 million, funding source,
That would be our ARPA funding.
ARPA funding
Yes.
that it would come from? Okay.
Yes.
Do we have, and forgive me for not reading the contracts that y'all provided to us regarding the duration, but do we know about how long it's gonna take them to do the drawings and when we could potentially be in construction?
No, sir. Me and Mr. Ingram have not went through that process yet. Once we get through the approval process, we will start that programming.
Okay, I was just curious.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the owner and architect agreement with Studio 8 Design and authorize the chairman to sign the agreement.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the owner and architect agreement for the Lowndes County Jail's medical addition and authorize the chairman to sign. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 7D is the acceptance of the quitclaim deed from the Georgia Department of Transportation for 9.014 acres. Mr. McLeod.
Yes, sir. Lowndes County Board of Commissioners requested the former rest area from the Georgia DOT, which equals 9.014 acres next to the North Lowndes Recreational Complex. DOT has sent staff a deed to be recorded. That deed does have a reversionary clause, and per the Code of Federal Regulations, it has to be used as a specified use, which is Parks and Recreation. If approved, the deed will be recorded with the Lowndes County Clerk of Court's office.
Any questions for Mr. McLeod?
No, but I will say, we kind of brushed over this yesterday morning. And I mean, this is a big deal. I mean, this is could be a huge expansion for Parks and Rec. And since there's nobody here, I don't think, from the Georgia DOT, I would like to express my gratitude to Chad and Ms. Dukes for staying on this. And we just get a deed in the mail, and that's the way Ms. Dukes seems to get it done. So thank you, Paige and Chad.
Okay. If there's no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I proudly make the motion that we accept the quitclaim deed for that, for the 9.014 acres from the Department of Transportation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 7E is the Lowndes County Judicial Complex courtrooms audio and visual replacement for 10 courtrooms. Mr. McLeod.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Staff has been working with judges since May of 2021 to develop a plan for their audio and visual and video presentation equipment replacement. The equipment is obsolete. A lot of it is not working anymore, and it's hard to get parts for that equipment to keep it going. And the judges rely on that heavily. Staff has been working with S&L Integrated on the replacement of that equipment, which will keep in line with standardizing all of our AV equipment in our buildings. And we're looking to approve an agreement with S&L Integrated and authorize the chairman to sign the agreement for $944,072.72.
Any questions for Mr. McLeod?
Since I'm full of questions tonight, is this the first time that those courtrooms have been replaced?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the request. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 8, County Manager's Report. Ms. Dukes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I get started, I did want to mention that the acceptance of property donations is, again, one of those things that doesn't happen often. So we did not get there without the help of the county attorney. Walter and his staff worked really hard to pave the way for us to be able to accept the property. Thank you, Walter. Moving on, I would like to thank all of you who had time to attend the 2 ribbon cuttings that we've had in the last few days. First, the drafting pit at the training field at Lowndes County Fire Rescue, and then today, the shooting range cover. Those don't happen by accident either. Ms. Barwick, thank you for your assistance there. And Ms. Thrasher, thank you for your assist, and the department heads who were able to attend those. We are excited that we're at one of those places in our projects that Mr. McLeod looks forward to, where we're getting some off of our plate. So you'll see more of those things to come. This afternoon, I had the distinct honor of swearing in our second recruit class at Lowndes County Fire Rescue. The recruits did graduate today, so there will be a team of them moving into the Bemis station. Chief Williams is here tonight. He was there this afternoon. It's just a fantastic thing to see. Commissioner Ornstein was able to come out, so we have one more recruit class coming through that will staff North Lowndes. So as we will start hiring them next week, and as we move through the process, we'll keep you apprised of their training there. Mr. McLeod met with the architect and our contractor today to finalize the guaranteed maximum price for the historic courthouse, so that will be on your agenda for consideration at your next meeting. Staff is involved in budget meetings. Ms. Black and her team and I are pretty scheduled out the next week or so, so we'll keep you up to date on those. Robin has knocked it out of the park with all the drainage issues. I think almost every single one of you has brought something related to drainage to us over the last week or so. We're just at that point where we're saturated and we have standing water, but they are making those things a priority, and we will keep moving there. And the last thing I have is just remember our offices will be closed on Friday for Good Friday.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good report as always. Do we have any citizens wishing to be heard? None. Okay. Commissioners, any questions or comments?
Just like to wish everyone a happy Easter.
Okay.
Ms. Dukes,
Yes, sir.
the North Lowndes Fire Station, is it under construction?
Not yet.
Okay.
So
We're already hiring a
Yes.
class for that.
It takes a period of time to get them through the training process. We have a meeting coming up shortly with Chief Green's team to make sure that we have that floor plan finalized. Right now, we have such tremendous interest in recruitment and hiring that we feel like it's smart to go ahead and strike while the iron's hot. We do have current bunk space to put those shifts on board, and then it gives them the opportunity to work out of some of our volunteer stations during the day until we get North Lowndes completed. So it really gave us an opportunity to be able to strengthen our team and how they work together, and all that's going really well. We have a plan.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Here none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.